Our planet, it's really a tapestry of vibrant life and staggering landscapes, and it holds secrets in its deepest oceans and darkest forests. For centuries, we've tried so hard to catalog, to understand, and to explain every corner of our world. Yet it still manages to surprise us, presenting phenomena and creatures that just defy our neat classifications, and really challenge the very limits of our knowledge. From the lush, archipelagic nation of the Philippines, a land steeped in ancient folklore and astounding biodiversity, we begin a journey that will, actually span the globe. We'll venture from its sun-drenched beaches to the murky swamps of distant lands, seeking out the inexplicable. This exploration isn't just about sightseeing. It's about questioning what we think we know. It's a quest to document those moments when nature reveals a side of itself so strange, so utterly baffling, that it borders on the fantastical. We'll encounter animals of impossible size, witness behaviors that seem to defy the laws of nature, and gaze upon sights that have left scientists and eyewitnesses alike searching for answers. The stories we're about to uncover are more than just curiosities. They are potent reminders that our world remains a place of profound and enduring mystery. So, I invite you now to join me on this remarkable expedition. Set aside your preconceptions and open your mind to the possibilities that lie just beyond the edge of our understanding. We'll confront the bizarre, the terrifying, and the truly magnificent, piecing together a puzzle that may never be fully solved. Enjoy watching as we present stories that shatter our usual understanding of the world. The journey begins now, and what we find may just change the way you see our planet forever. In the realm of reptiles, the reticulated python holds a fearsome reputation as one of the world's longest snakes. Capable of consuming prey as large as a deer, its power is, honestly, legendary. Yet, in one corner of the Philippines, a story unfolded that would challenge this perception, revealing a relationship between man and serpent that was as astonishing as it was heartwarming. It all began with the discovery, a tiny, vulnerable snake, no bigger than a man's finger. This was the humble beginning of Pry, a python whose destiny was to grow to a truly biblical scale, reaching an almost unbelievable weight of 24 tons. The man who found him saw not a monster in the making, but a life to be nurtured. Day by day, year by year, he cared for the growing serpent. Pry was not confined to a cage but was given space to thrive, and a bond formed between them, one built on trust and mutual respect. As Pry's immense size became a local legend, tourists began to flock to witness the spectacle. They came expecting to see a fearsome beast, a creature of nightmare. But what they found was something altogether different, something that really defied all their expectations. Instead of a coiled threat, visitors were greeted by a placid giant. Pry would lie peacefully, his colossal body a living landscape of muscle and scale, allowing people, even small children, to touch and interact with him. His owner would often rest beside him, a testament to the deep connection they shared. The python, a creature hardwired for predation, had become a gentle companion, a calm and patient soul who seemed to enjoy the human contact. His immense power was always present, a silent reminder of his true nature, yet it was held in perfect, serene check. The sight of this 24-ton marvel, docile and accepting, was a profound one. It spoke to the possibility of connection across the species divide, a relationship that really transcended instinct. Pry was more than just a tourist attraction. He was a living paradox, a gentle giant who taught all who met him that even in the most formidable of creatures, there can exist a capacity for peace and companionship. His story remains a remarkable chapter in the annals of human-animal interaction, a tale of a tiny snake who grew into a legend. The ocean is a realm of cycles and rhythms, its tides a predictable breath that gives life to the coastlines. But sometimes this rhythm is broken by an event so sudden and strange, it feels like a dire warning. Such a moment occurred on the shores of Thano Beach in the Philippines, a day that began like any other, but would end in widespread alarm and bewilderment. Without warning, the sea began to offer up its inhabitants not as a gentle bounty, but in a frantic, desperate surge. Thousands of fish, of all shapes and sizes, began throwing themselves ashore. The spectacle was as shocking as it was bizarre. The sand, usually kissed by gentle waves, was suddenly carpeted with a writhing, silvery mass of dying fish. They leaped from the water with a collective, suicidal urgency, beaching themselves in staggering numbers. Local residents who depend on the sea for their livelihood and understand its moods intimately were horrified. This was not a normal occurrence. It was a violent aberration, a sign that something was deeply wrong in the waters they had known their whole lives. The air filled with a sense of dread as the scale of the mass stranding became apparent. Fear quickly began to ripple through the community, and with it, speculation. Many feared it was a harbinger of a natural disaster, a precursor to a devastating earthquake or a tsunami. The ocean, they reasoned, must be reacting to some immense subterranean disturbance, forcing its creatures to flee in a blind panic. These anxieties were amplified by comparisons to similar ominous events that had been reported in Japan, a nation all too familiar with the destructive power of the Earth. The memory of fish strandings preceding major seismic events elsewhere cast a dark shadow over Thano Beach. Scientists and officials rushed to the scene, desperate to find a rational explanation and quell the growing panic. Was it a sudden change in water temperature, a lack of oxygen known as a hypoxic event, or perhaps a toxic algal bloom? Each theory was considered, but the sheer speed and scale of the event made a simple explanation elusive. As the community cleaned the beach, the unsettling question lingered in the air, as potent as the smell of the decaying fish. What could possibly drive thousands of creatures to flee the safety of the sea for certain death on the sand? Swamps and marshlands have always been places of mystery, their murky waters and tangled vegetation perfect for concealing secrets. They are landscapes that really fuel the imagination, birthing tales of strange beasts that lurk just out of sight. It is in one such environment that a piece of amateur footage emerged, so chilling and peculiar that it ignited a firestorm of speculation across the internet. The video, grainy and unsteady, captured something that did not seem to belong to our known world. A pale, gaunt creature moving on two legs through the dense undergrowth. The footage, though brief, is deeply unsettling. The entity appears unnaturally thin, its skin a stark, almost luminous white against the dark, earthy tones of the swamp. It moves with an awkward, lurching gait, its two long limbs carrying it with a purpose that is difficult to discern. Its form is vaguely humanoid, yet distorted, as if it were a poorly remembered sketch of a person. There are no clear facial features, no discernible clothing, just the stark, pale form moving with an eerie silence through the wetlands, before disappearing back into the shadows from which it emerged. Immediately, the debate began. What was this thing? Skeptics were quick to dismiss it as a hoax, a cleverly staged prank using costumes or digital manipulation. It is, after all, pretty easy to create illusions with modern technology. Yet, others were not so sure. The creature's movements seemed too fluid, too unnervingly natural in their strangeness, to be a person in a suit. They argued that the world's unexplored corners could still hold undiscovered species, perhaps even a nocturnal subterranean primate or amphibian that had evolved in isolation, its pale skin a result of a life spent away from the sun. The video offers no answers, only haunting questions. It exists as a digital ghost, a fleeting glimpse into a potential reality that is both fascinating and terrifying. The creature has been nicknamed the Swamp Stalker, or the Pale Crawler, joining the ranks of cryptids known only through fleeting, unverified evidence. Whether it is a product of human ingenuity or a genuine inhabitant of the swamp's hidden world, the image of that pale, two-legged figure remains, a powerful symbol of the unknown that may be watching from the shadows of our own backyards. Docks and harbors are gateways to the ocean, places where the human world meets the vast, untamed wilderness of the sea. It's here that fishermen often bring back tales of the deep, but, one particular discovery was so bizarre, it seemed to have been dredged up from the pages of a science fiction novel. At an unnamed dock, a collection of creatures was brought ashore that, honestly, baffled all who saw them. They were enormous, worm-like beings, their bodies thick and muscular, unlike any known species of marine worm. Their size alone was astounding, but it was their mouths that caused the greatest shock. Each creature possessed a wide, gaping maw that seemed disproportionately large for its body. And when opened, these mouths revealed a complex, almost flower-like structure within, an alien anatomy that suggested a method of feeding as strange as the creature's appearance. They looked less like animals and more like living, fleshy pipes, designed to consume something in a way that was, difficult to comprehend. The fishermen who found them had no name for them, no reference point in their extensive experience of the sea. They were a complete and utter enigma. Word of the discovery spread, and the creatures were carefully collected for scientific research. The hope was that in a laboratory setting, under the trained eyes of marine biologists, their identity could be revealed. Were they a new species of polychaete worm, grown to monstrous proportions in a unique environment? Or were they something else entirely, perhaps a type of sea cucumber or a primitive chordate that had survived, unchanged, for millions of years in the deep ocean trenches? The possibilities were as vast as the ocean itself. But here, the story takes a frustrating turn. Despite the initial excitement and the collection of specimens, the fate of these giant worm-like creatures becomes shrouded in mystery. The results of the research, if any were conducted, were never made public. The creatures, and the data they could have provided, simply vanished from the public record. We are left with only the startling photographs and the fishermen's accounts, a tantalizing glimpse of a truly alien life form from our own planet, its secrets now lost, perhaps forever. The world beneath the water's surface is often a silent, graceful one. But a diver exploring a river in Maryland stumbled upon a sight that was anything but ordinary. Floating in the gentle current was a substance unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was a large, gelatinous mass, translucent and shimmering with a vibrant green hue. It swayed rhythmically with the flow of the water, resembling a giant, otherworldly jelly. It seemed to be alive, a single, cohesive organism that pulsed with an internal, mysterious light. The diver, captivated and bewildered, captured the phenomenon on video. The footage shows the green jelly anchored to the riverbed, its body undulating in a slow, hypnotic dance. It was not merely a clump of algae, it had a definite structure, a form that suggested a complex biological entity. Its appearance was so alien, so out of place in a temperate North American river, that it immediately prompted wild speculation. The diver himself wondered if he had stumbled upon something not of this earth, a form of extraterrestrial life that had somehow found its way into the river. As the video gained traction, the scientific community weighed in, offering a more terrestrial, though no less fascinating, explanation. The green jelly, they proposed, was likely a magnificent colony of bryozoans, also known as moss animals. These are tiny aquatic invertebrates that live in colonies, secreting a gelatinous substance to form a communal home. Under certain conditions, these colonies can grow to an impressive size, forming the kind of large, jelly-like mass the diver had discovered. The green color would be caused by symbiotic algae living within the gelatinous matrix. Yet, even with this plausible scientific explanation, a sense of wonder remains. For many, the idea of an alien life form is more compelling, a testament to our desire to find the extraordinary in our world. The debate continues in comment sections and forums. Was it a rare and beautiful example of a known, albeit strange, life form, or a genuine close encounter with something from beyond? The green jelly of Maryland serves as a perfect example of how nature can produce forms so bizarre, they can easily be mistaken for science fiction. The beaches of Pangla, in the Philippines, are known for their pristine white sand and crystal-clear waters, a paradise for tourists and marine life alike. But one day, beachgoers encountered something that seemed to have crawled out of a nightmare. Lying on the sand was a bizarre, amorphous organism, dark and lumpy, with no discernible head, tail, or limbs. It was a living blob of tissue, utterly alien in appearance. As a curious crowd gathered, the creature began to do something even more extraordinary. It started to secrete a vivid, brightly colored fluid. The liquid oozed from the creature's body, pooling on the sand around it in vibrant shades of pink and purple. It was a startling, almost artistic display, but its purpose was a complete mystery. Was it a defense mechanism, a toxic warning to potential predators? Or was it some form of communication, a chemical signal broadcast to others of its kind? The organism itself seemed distressed, making slow, determined efforts to crawl back towards the life-giving sea. Its movements were clumsy, a desperate dragging of its formless body across the sand. Scientists were baffled by the footage and photographs that emerged. The creature bore a superficial resemblance to certain species of sea hare or nudibranch, which are known for releasing ink-like substances when threatened. However, the sheer volume and vibrant, multicolored nature of the fluid secreted by the Pangla organism seemed unique. Furthermore, its overall morphology did not perfectly match any known species. It was as if nature had taken familiar elements of marine biology and rearranged them into something entirely new. Despite the intense interest it generated, the creature's identity remains unconfirmed. it managed to return to the ocean and disappeared back into the depths, leaving behind only a stain on the sand and a host of unanswered questions. Was it a new species, or a known one exhibiting an undocumented behavior? Without a specimen to study, the scientific community can only speculate. The encounter on Pangla Beach is a potent reminder that the ocean's biodiversity is so vast that we can still stumble upon creatures on a popular tourist beach that are completely unknown to science. In a dark corner of a garage or maybe a forgotten shed, someone stumbled upon a sight that could honestly make your skin crawl. Hanging from a wooden beam was this thick, dark clump that, at first glance, looked just like a patch of coarse black hair or fur. It seemed totally inert, maybe just a piece of old animal hide or, I don't know, some bizarre fungal growth. But as the person moved closer, a light breeze or even a slight vibration caused the hair to suddenly ripple and move. It wasn't a single object at all. It was actually a writhing, pulsating mass of living things. If you were brave enough to take a closer look, you'd see the clump's true nature. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of harvestmen, which most folks just call granddaddy longlegs. These arachnids, often mistaken for spiders, are completely harmless to humans. They don't have venom glands or fangs, so they pose no threat whatsoever. But, when they gather in such dense numbers, their collective appearance can be deeply unsettling, tapping into that primal fear we all seem to have of swarming, many-legged creatures. This clumping behavior is actually a remarkable survival strategy. By clustering together, the harvestmen create a pretty formidable defensive mass. To a potential predator, like a bird or a lizard, the large, shifting clump is way more intimidating than just one spindly arachnid. And, what's even more fascinating, when disturbed, the whole group starts to pulsate and bob in unison. This rhythmic movement is thought to confuse and deter attackers even further, creating the illusion of a single, much larger creature. It's really a beautiful example of collective defense in the invertebrate world. So, what might look at first like a terrifying infestation, or just a clump of disembodied hair, is actually a peaceful community taking steps to protect itself. It's a wonderful illustration of how our initial, fear-based reactions can be so misleading. By looking closer and really trying to understand the behavior, we can turn a moment of revulsion into one of fascination. The breathing hair isn't a monster at all, but a marvel of cooperative survival, a testament to the ingenious strategies even the smallest creatures use to navigate a dangerous world. The sky is, honestly, our planet's canvas, a vast expanse where clouds, storms, and celestial bodies put on a daily show. But on one particular day over the Philippines, something appeared that was just, well, unlike any of these. People on the ground looked up in total astonishment to see a large, perfectly formed black ring just hanging silently in the sky. It wasn't a cloud, and it definitely wasn't smoke from a regular fire. It was this sharply defined, dark circle drifting slowly, like a colossal smoke ring blown by some unseen giant. The sight immediately caused alarm, and of course all sorts of wild speculation among those who saw it. Folks gathered, pointing their phones at the sky, snapping pictures and recording videos of the eerie spectacle. For many, the ring felt deeply ominous, even supernatural. And, in a culture rich with folklore and spiritual beliefs, it was easy for people to see the ring as some kind of sign or portent. Was it a gateway to another dimension? Maybe a message from the heavens? Theories rooted in ancient myths and modern UFO stories started spreading like wildfire. Experts, though, were quick to offer a more grounded, though still pretty interesting explanation. These mysterious black rings, which have been spotted in different places around the world, are almost always man-made, though not usually on purpose. They're typically formed by a contained circular explosion or a sudden release of combusted material through a circular structure. For example, a lightning strike on a power transformer or a specific kind of industrial malfunction at a factory can send a vortex of smoke and soot into the air, which then holds its ring shape as it rises. Despite this logical explanation, the image of the black ring really sticks with you. The contrast between the mundane, industrial cause and the ethereal, almost magical appearance of the ring is just so striking. It shows how our modern technological world can accidentally create phenomena that look as if they've been lifted straight from mythology. The black ring over the Philippines wasn't a supernatural omen, but it served as a powerful reminder that, even in our scientific age, the world can still surprise us with sights that inspire awe, confusion, and, Yeah, a touch of primal fear. The sperm whale is, honestly, a creature of the abyss, the largest toothed predator on Earth and really, a living legend of the deep ocean. These leviathans spend their lives in the crushing darkness, hunting giant squid in a world most of us can barely even imagine. To see one is a rare privilege, but to see one in distress is truly a tragedy. That's exactly what happened when a massive 50-foot female sperm whale became stranded in shallow waters. It was immediately clear that this great animal was in serious trouble. Its immense body, designed for the buoyancy of the deep, now a crushing weight upon itself. The whale's tragic journey to the shore is believed to have started with a violent collision, probably with a large ship. The evidence of this encounter was written all over its body in the form of deep gashes and injuries. Disoriented and wounded, the whale had made its way into the shallows, from which there was no easy escape. A massive rescue effort was launched right away, involving local residents, conservationists, and government agencies. Their goal was simple, but honestly, monumental: to guide the 40-ton animal back to the safety of the open ocean. For hours, rescuers worked tirelessly. They waded into the water, trying to comfort the distressed giant and figure out a way to move it. The scale of the challenge was just immense. I mean, how do you move a creature the size of a bus? Despite all their heroic efforts, every attempt failed. The whale was just too heavy, too weak, and too firmly beached by the receding tide. The hope that filled the air at the start of the rescue slowly faded, replaced by a somber sense of helplessness. As the day wore on, the great whale's strength finally gave out. The stress of the stranding, combined with its injuries and the crushing weight of its own body, became just too much to bear. The giant of the deep breathed its last in the shallow water, surrounded by the people who had tried so desperately to save it. The scene was one of profound sadness, a heartbreaking end for such a magnificent creature. Its death served as a stark and tragic reminder of the dangers that our modern world poses to the ancient inhabitants of the ocean. In the rich tapestry of Philippine folklore, few creatures are as feared as the Sigbin. Descriptions vary, but it is often said to be a horned, goat-like creature that walks backwards with its head lowered between its hind legs. It is a creature of the night, a blood-sucking familiar of witches that preys on unsuspecting victims, consuming their shadows or drinking their blood. For generations, the Sigbin has been a story told to frighten children, a mythical beast confined to the realm of imagination. But, a viral video threatened to drag this legend into the harsh light of reality. The video, shot at night and lit by a shaky flashlight beam, appears to show a creature that matches the description of the Sigbin. It is a strange, dark animal, its gait awkward and unnatural. It seems to be scuttling along a dirt path, its form contorted in a way that is difficult to process. The footage is grainy and chaotic, filled with the panicked shouts of the person filming. It is exactly the kind of terrifying, fleeting glimpse one might expect to catch of a legendary monster. The video spread rapidly online, with many proclaiming it as the first ever proof of the Sigbin's existence. However, as the video was analyzed by more skeptical eyes, a different theory began to emerge. Zoologists and animal experts pointed out that the creature in the video bore a striking resemblance to a bear cat, or binturong, that was suffering from a severe case of mange. This debilitating skin disease causes extensive hair loss, skin lesions, and can lead to emaciation, drastically altering an animal's appearance and even its movement. A sick and frightened bear cat, moving erratically at night, could easily be mistaken for something more monstrous. The debate over the video rages on. For believers in folklore, it remains compelling evidence, a moment when myth and reality collided. For skeptics, it is a sad case of a diseased animal being misinterpreted through the lens of fear and superstition. The truth may be impossible to determine from the low-quality footage alone. The Sigbin video serves as a fascinating case study in modern myth-making, where the ancient fears of the night can be given new life and broadcast to the world through the lens of a smartphone. Nature is a master of symmetry, particularly in the animal kingdom, where a balanced body plan is the norm. So when a fisherman cast his net and pulled up a frog with 6 legs, it was a moment of pure astonishment. In place of the usual 4 limbs, this small amphibian sported 2 extra fully formed legs emerging from its pelvic area. It was a perfect living deviation from the biological blueprint, a small but profound anomaly that immediately set it apart from every other frog in the pond. The discovery of such a creature can evoke a range of reactions, For a scientist, it is a fascinating case of a developmental abnormality, likely caused by a genetic mutation or environmental factors during its tadpole stage. Parasitic infections, particularly by a type of trematode flatworm, are known to interfere with limb development in amphibians, causing the growth of extra, malformed legs. This six-legged frog was a living specimen of a biological process gone awry, a valuable subject for study. However, in many cultures, such an unusual animal is seen not through a scientific lens, but a spiritual one. It is often interpreted as an omen or a symbol. For the fisherman who found it, and for his community, the six-legged frog was not a mutation, but a bearer of good fortune. An animal that defied the natural order in such a specific way was considered special, a sign of impending luck, prosperity, or a bountiful harvest. The frog was not dissected in a lab, but was revered, its strange form seen as a blessing rather than a defect. This small amphibian highlights the beautiful divergence in how we interpret the unusual. Is it a scientific curiosity, a window into the complex mechanics of embryology and the impact of environmental stressors? Or is it a mystical sign, a message from a world beyond our own, promising good things to come? In the end, the six-legged frog is both. It is a tangible biological fact and a powerful cultural symbol, a single, small creature that exists at the fascinating intersection of science and superstition. In the sweltering, alligator-infested swamps of Florida, legends whisper of a creature that is part man, part ape, and all mystery. It is known as the skunk ape, so named for the foul, overpowering odor that is said to accompany its presence. For decades, it has been the southern United States' own version of Bigfoot, a large, hairy, bipedal hominid that allegedly stalks the remote wilderness. While countless stories have been told, tangible evidence has always been scarce, consigning the creature to the realm of cryptozoology and campfire tales. That is, until the year 2000, when a photograph emerged that would become the most iconic and controversial piece of evidence in the history of the skunk ape. An anonymous woman mailed 2 photographs to the Sarasota County Sheriff's Department. She claimed to have taken them in her own backyard, which bordered a large swamp. The images show a large, dark, hairy figure hunkered down in the palmettos. It appears ape-like, with long arms and a heavy build, its face obscured by shadow. It is, to many, the definitive image of the creature. The photographs ignited a fierce debate. Believers hailed them as the long-awaited proof, a clear shot of a creature that had eluded capture for so long. They pointed to the creature's realistic appearance, the way its fur seemed to mat in the humid air, and its seemingly natural posture. They argued that it was too detailed, too lifelike, to be a man in a gorilla suit. The photographer's anonymity, they claimed, was due to her fear of ridicule or of attracting a media circus to her home. Skeptics, on the other hand, saw something else entirely. They suggested the figure was nothing more than a person in a costume, or perhaps even a deliberate hoax using a model. Others proposed a more prosaic explanation, that the photograph simply shows a large black bear, its form distorted by the angle and lighting, making it appear vaguely humanoid. To this day, the Mayaka skunk ape photograph, as it has come to be known, remains unexplained and hotly debated, a single, mysterious image that keeps the legend of Florida's swamp monster alive and well. Riverbanks are, these dynamic ecosystems, absolutely teeming with life, both familiar and strange. But a video captured on the banks of the Basaka River in the Philippines showed something that really seemed to defy easy categorization. The footage reveals what looks like a long, thick, dark rope lying partially in the water and partially on the muddy bank. At first, it appears to be inanimate debris, maybe a discarded piece of thick cable or a waterlogged tree root. Then, to the astonishment of the person filming, the rope begins to move. It twists and writhes with a slow, muscular power. It turns out, it's not just one creature, but a tangled, writhing mass of dozens, maybe even hundreds, of individual organisms. They're long and slender, kind of like worms or eels, and are knotted together in an incredibly dense ball. The collective movement of the colony is what gives the impression of a single, massive, rope-like entity. The sight is both fascinating and, honestly, deeply primeval. A vision of life in one of its most basic and cooperative forms. The mass seems to have a single mind, moving as one towards the water. The video quickly went viral, and viewers began to speculate wildly about the identity of this living rope. Were they a swarm of eels, engaged in some kind of strange mating ritual? Or maybe a colony of unknown aquatic worms, emerging from the mud in response to some environmental trigger? The sheer number of creatures and their tightly intertwined behavior was something that, well, few had ever witnessed before. The way they moved together, a single undulating organism made of many, was honestly hypnotic and a little unnerving. The most likely scientific explanation is that the video shows a ball of tubifex worms, also known as sludge worms or sewer worms. These small reddish worms are known to thrive in low oxygen, polluted environments, and often form dense, spherical colonies. When disturbed, or when oxygen levels change, the entire ball can appear to move and writhe as each individual worm reacts. While this may be the logical answer, it does little to diminish the strange power of the image. The living rope of Basaka River remains a startling visual, a testament to the bizarre and unexpected forms that life can take. The search for extraterrestrial life has, captivated humanity for generations, with most people looking to the stars. But what if the evidence were to be found not in the sky, but right there in the mud of a remote swamp? A story emerged, along with some startling photographs, of just such a discovery. A tiny, perfectly formed humanoid body, allegedly found in a marshland. The being was minuscule, no larger than the palm of a hand, but its features were shockingly detailed and proportioned like a miniature human. The photographs show the tiny body lying on a leaf. It has a distinct head, a torso, 2 arms, and 2 legs. The skin appears gray and desiccated as if it has been dried by the sun. The proportions, while humanoid, are just a bit off. The head is a little too large for the body, the limbs a little too spindly, kind of reminiscent of the classic gray alien archetype from popular culture. The immediate conclusion for many who saw the images was that this was the body of an alien, a visitor from another world who had met its end in the swamp. The debate exploded online. Believers in extraterrestrial visitation saw it as undeniable proof, a smoking gun that governments had tried to suppress. They theorized it could be a scout from an alien race, or maybe a biologically engineered drone. The level of detail, they argued, was just too perfect for it to be a simple fake. The find was hailed as one of the most significant discoveries in human history, a tiny body that carried immense implications for our place in the universe. However, skepticism soon followed. Hoaxbusters and artists pointed out that such a figure could be easily sculpted from clay, latex, or other materials, and then artfully weathered to look authentic. Another, more macabre theory suggested it could be a modified animal fetus, perhaps from a primate, deliberately altered to look more humanoid. Without the original body to subject to DNA testing and radiological analysis, the photographs alone are not enough to prove anything. The tiny alien-like being remains a tantalizing and frustrating mystery, either a world-changing discovery or a masterful, intricate hoax. Australia is a continent known for its unique and, honestly, often dangerous wildlife. A land where evolution has taken some strange and wonderful turns. But even for an Australian, a man named David White was just not prepared for what he encountered in a Queensland river. While enjoying a day by the water with his family, he spotted something in the shallows that he just couldn't identify. It was a creature with a long, slender body, and a head that seemed almost reptilian, yet unlike any lizard, snake, or fish he had ever seen. Intrigued and, well, a bit cautious, David began to film the creature. His footage shows the animal partially submerged, its head breaking the surface. It appears to be dark and slick, with a distinct snout and eyes that seem to be watching him. The creature remains largely motionless for a time, as if observing its surroundings, before slowly and silently slipping back beneath the water's surface and vanishing completely. David was left standing on the riverbank, holding his camera, utterly perplexed by what he had just witnessed. He shared the video online, hoping that someone could identify the river's mysterious inhabitant. The response was overwhelming, with countless theories being proposed. Some suggested it was a type of lungfish, an ancient species capable of breathing air. Others thought it might be a large eel or perhaps a water monitor lizard, its appearance distorted by the water. More imaginative suggestions ranged from a surviving prehistoric reptile to a new, undiscovered species of aquatic mammal. Despite the flood of speculation from amateur sleuths and wildlife experts alike, no definitive consensus has ever been reached. Every proposed identification has been met with counter-arguments. The creature's head doesn't quite match a lungfish. Its body seems too slender for a monitor. The creature of the Queensland River remains an unsolved mystery, a local legend born from a single piece of footage. David White's encounter is a perfect example of how even in a well-explored country like Australia, nature can still produce a sight that leaves everyone, experts included, scratching their heads in wonder. We have journeyed from the vibrant islands of the Philippines to the swamps and rivers of the world, witnessing sights that, honestly, just defy simple explanation. We've seen gentle giants, ominous omens, and creatures that seem to have crawled from the pages of mythology and science fiction. Each story, from the heartbreaking end of a great whale to the fleeting glimpse of a pale swamp dweller, serves as a powerful testament to the fact that our world is far stranger and more mysterious than we often care to admit. The line between what is known and what is possible is constantly being blurred by these incredible encounters. These tales are not just curiosities. They are invitations. They invite us to look closer, to question more deeply, and to embrace the wonder of the unknown. The planet still holds its secrets close, revealing them only in tantalizing flashes that ignite our imagination and fuel our desire to explore. The mysteries we've examined today are likely just a tiny fraction of what is still out there, waiting in the deep oceans, the dark forests, and maybe even in our own backyards, ready to challenge our perception of reality. The search for answers is a journey without end. Now, the conversation turns to you. What do you believe? Do you have a theory about the living rope or the skunk ape photograph? Have you ever witnessed something you could not explain, a strange creature or an inexplicable phenomenon? Share your own stories and theories in the comments below. Let's continue this exploration together. And if you wish to continue this journey with me, to uncover more incredible stories from the furthest corners of our astonishing planet, please subscribe and join our community of curious minds. There is always more to discover.